Well, this is fantastic, and then I don't even have to bring anybody to attention, they're all ready. I will bring this regular council meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Scouts, you want to come forward? We've got a couple scouts working on some badges tonight, so they're going to lead us in the pledge. If you guys would come up to the microphone, introduce yourselves, tell us what pack you're from.
Okay.
It's working. Still working.
Can I pick it up?
It's fine, we can hear you.
My name is John Baldridge, and this is my brother, Jackson Baldridge.
And what troop are you with?
We were with Troop 4100.
41, and they're based in where?
Kirkersville.
Kirkersville. Very good. Kirkersville is represented. Okay, go ahead and lead us on the pledge, please.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. If you'd remain standing for a moment, please. Heavenly Father, we ask tonight for your blessings and your guidance. We ask that you keep us all in the best of health. It seems lately that there's been much sickness, much hospitalization, and even a few of our family members, friends, and relatives who have passed. This time of year, the dark and the gloom, coupled with the loss of a loved one, can sometimes be overwhelming. In my own church, we have begun the season and the journey of Lent, which leads us eventually to brighter and longer days, the rebirth of spring, and the hope of the resurrection. In these Tonight's meeting is dedicated in part to the memory of Mark Nicholson, brother of Jamie Nicholson. May he rest in peace. And Lord, help us to continue to love, have thoughts of love, faith, hope, and charity. And we ask for all of this tonight in your holy name. Amen. Okay, Kathy, roll please.
Carter. Here. Walter.
Here.
Epperson.
Here.
Barstow.
Here.
Hampshire.
Here.
Lee.
Here. Is that everybody? Mr. Lee's here. Thank you. We have a quorum present. First thing on the agenda tonight is citizens' comments, and I do have a proclamation, and we also have Mr. Weaver from Local Waste Services, and we'll start with our proclamation tonight. Anna, you want to meet me at the podium? Jude, would you take a picture? So we do this every year in March, don't we, Anna?
Yes.
So when you answer the phone, do you say developmental disabilities, or
I-
do you shorten it to DD?
We shorten it to DD.
Okay, because that's a mouthful.
It is,
I was wondering
yes.
how you answered the phone. Okay. Whereas, it's one of the responsibilities and privileges of the mayor of the city of Pataskala, Ohio, to recognize people and events of outstanding worthiness. We live in a community built on partnership and are thankful to the people who work together on behalf of the city, the county, and the state to support a common mission. Each have people and organizations in our lives that have supported us in reaching our goals, including parents, siblings, friends, co-workers, teachers, neighbors, and employers. And every year during the month of March, the Licking County Board of Developmental Disabilities takes time to celebrate the many successes of the people with disabilities that it supports throughout our community. These successes would not be possible without the hard work of individuals and the support of the people, businesses, and organizations who stand beside them as allies and partners. And as residents of the city of Pataskala, it is important to recognize these partnerships and join in the work toward a future free of the limits, barriers, and preconceptions that could affect people with disabilities as they pursue what is important to them. So, therefore, I, Michael W. Compton, Mayor of the City of Pataskala, Ohio, do hereby proclaim March 2020 as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Thank you for all you do. You got it?
One more year.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank,
All right,
thank
for
you so
coming.
much.
All right, and you're excused.
Thank you.
And tell your boss we understand
Yes.
why he's not here tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. James Weaver, where are you at, sir? That's all right. Come on up to the podium and give us your name and address for the record, and we need to talk to you
Do I have to
tonight.
speak into the microphone or?
No, you can leave it on there. What it's doing is picking it up and so that the audience can hear, so we'll be
Sorry,
fine.
My
Yep.
name is James Weaver. I'm with Local Waste Services. Here to explain a billing mistake we had and how what steps we've made to correct that and how all of that's transpired since. So I was asked to come here by Mr. Schrock because there were a number of residents that didn't receive a bill in January. When we discovered that was a problem, what we did is proactively credited all the late fees that were assigned, and we were making sure that those customers aren't getting cut off, and then we made sure that everyone got a bill or has access to be able to receive one. And we've also it was our billing software did a version update. A number of lines on a TXT file got cut off. For those of you who know those kinds of details, what I've done is I've found a way to verify that's correct going forward. It's never been an issue before. The billing software that we use is actually a very well-known one. Almost all of our competitors use the same one, namely Rumpke uses the same one, and they're much larger than we are. So it's not a small software. It's not a podunk kind of operation or anything. And I think when we stood here a couple months ago, I told you guys that we wouldn't be perfect. And but what we would do is when we do make mistakes, we'll do what we can to make it right. And I think that we've done that in this circumstance. So.
Questions from council? Mr. Barstow?
Well, yeah, I was the one who asked Mr. Schrock to have you come here. So, and just so in full disclosure, I'm not a customer of yours because I live in a homeowners association. We contract with one of your competitors, so I don't see the bills. I'm not personally familiar with it. Just there's a huge amount of social media protest over this. I guess what I would encourage the company to do is for customer service agents, when you start getting lots of calls from one jurisdiction, one area that you service saying, hey, didn't get my bill, why am I getting a cutoff notice?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of in communicating better, I realize you have a number of people who are answering the phone, but to communicate better internally so that these types of problems can be identified quickly. Because what I was hearing from residents was that, all these residents were calling in and the company was saying, no, you didn't pay your bill. That's why your service has been terminated. Well, I didn't get a bill. Well, yeah, you got a bill. And I understand that you may have there may be the occasional problem that who knows what happened, but just maybe better internal coordination amongst in the customer service. So when you see that, oh gosh, there's 25 people from Pataskala, 30 people from Pataskala called and said, I didn't get a bill. That's probably not a crank situation or an anomaly or something. It's probably, there's maybe a bigger problem. That was just.
Yeah, so I found out about it the day that all the late notices hit the mail, or no, it's via email. The emails go out before the mail. So the day that they all hit the emails, then we started fielding those calls, and it took an hour or two before we discovered that this was a real problem we need to look into. So
Okay,
so I apologize for the inconvenience, and I understand how that could definitely be confusing and frustrating for some people. But like I said, we have gone ahead and credited all those late fees for the people who didn't get their bills. We were able to work with our software company to figure out exactly who those were. We're gonna make sure they don't get cut off, and taken care of from there. So.
Mr. Walther?
Just a quick question, are we the only municipality that had that happen?
No, there were about 5, because what it was, there was a TXT file with 35,000 customers on it, and 5,000 got cut off. And on a TXT file, there's no way to verify what number of customers there are and things like that. So I've had to figure out other ways to figure that out on the back end before we press the go button on the mailing. So.
The secondary comment is I am a customer, and you guys did handle a call in very well, and appreciate it. Certainly understand that first hour or two it could get a little dicey understanding from all those people. I've also I think we've all seen some emails and so forth that you've handled some of our residents in the area with utmost professional answers and abilities, and so we appreciate that.
Good. I like that feedback. That's
So,
good to hear.
that's about the best way I can put it.
Well, like I said, there in a contract like this, there are going to be issues from time to time, and as long as we can learn about those and we're gonna do what makes sense to take care of that and always, you know, err on the side of the city, so.
Any other input? Because I do have some input. Unfortunately, I'm glued into the internet pretty much,
Yeah.
and I hear a lot of complaints, and I think a lot of times it's, I've had some folks that have reached out and said that when you automatically pick up the trash and dump it, that the container is being put back so that they can't get in their driveway. They have to get out of their car and move the barrel, which on a busy highway, of course, it doesn't work too good. And that was one complaint. The other complaint was that the container was set actually in the road or on the berm, which was a tad dangerous. Complaints of not all, in fact, this actually happened to me last week. My trash was dumped, and they didn't dump all the trash out, so the trash came out of the can when they threw it on the ground, and then I had to pick it up. That happened to you too? Okay. And then the last one was some of your trucks, which I'm thrilled that you have 3 drivers on a truck. I think that helps. I've seen at least 2, maybe sometimes 3 drivers on 3 people on a truck, not 3 drivers, I'm sorry.
Sure.
But I think that would probably help you guys in the speed of which you can get through the city, but some of the customer service I would think would be, if you have 3 people, they should be doing a fantastic job. And I did get some reports that you know, trash cans are emptied and then just thrown in the yard and that kind of stuff. So I'm just trying to tighten up what I'm hearing on you know, social internet, so that you can take that back to your drive. I realize you're new. I realize you're still trying to find all the nooks and crannies and stuff about Pataskala, but and we get the occasional, hey, they picked up my trash on one side of the road, but they didn't. I know that's going to happen, but
That shouldn't happen.
I think we still need some tweaking.
Yeah.
So
We have tablets in all of our trucks, and our drivers have to either complete a stop or mark it skipped and mark a reason why it's skipped. Maybe the trash wasn't out, maybe it was unserviceable because it was blocked or something like that. So we have to do that for every single stop. When you see 3 people on a truck, typically it's because we're training somebody how to run that route and things like that. What I've done since I fielded some of the calls about the can placements is I've worked with my operations manager to make sure we have a supervisor driving through those areas.
okay.
And what happens is sometimes on the busier roads, people are flying by these guys, so they're just trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. And that's obviously a problem then for the guys that are trying to get into the driveway. So if we have a supervisor drive through afterwards and make sure that the cans are placed correctly and things like that, we shouldn't have any issues going forward.
Good.
Certainly if we do, I need to continue to hear about it because I'm going to get more and more severe until I actually have to drive someone out here and make them walk the streets to get it taken care of correctly, because it's got to be done right.
It may seem like small potatoes, but some of these folks, the elderly folks, I know one guy had struggled to get in his driveway because
Sure.
he was disabled and
Sure.
broke the mirror off his van because it hit the
Yeah.
can and it wedged and broke, and he's like, well, I can't, you know, so, you know, little stuff like that I know, but
Right.
it's important to them.
Sure.
So it's important
Sure.
to us.
So I've got a couple notes on those things, and I'll definitely follow up on that stuff.
Thank you very much. That helps a lot. Anything else from, yes, ma'am?
I was just gonna say, that happened to me as well, but that was a one-off. For the most part, since you guys have taken over, I haven't had any complaints in my area. I haven't had any problems. Now, I don't live off of a terribly busy road either, where
Right.
I have to worry, they have to worry about getting run over.
Right.
But, so, I mean, in what I've seen so far and what I've heard, it's gone very well. And I do appreciate how you took care of everything that happened with the billing.
Thank you.
So, because I accused my husband of not paying the bill because he has it, trash bills are hard to keep up with. So, I appreciate that.
We all know there's a transition period because we've done this a couple times, so.
Just a few little kinks we got to work out.
Yeah.
So
All right, thank you.
Thank
Anything
you.
else for, okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
And you're also excused, you don't have to stick around. All right, public comments. Anybody wish to speak tonight? Now's your chance. Yes, sir. Come on up. I'll need your name and address first.
Okay. My name is John Baldridge, and I live at in Outville. Would you like the specific address?
Nah, it's close enough.
So we're doing citizenship in the community for our merit badge.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, what is a big issue in our community?
How many questions do you have?
Just two.
Just two, okay. Is it council's pleasure that we would answer these questions tonight, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
Very good. Who'd like to field that question?
I think the mayor should.
Second.
Yes, absolutely.
Out of order. Okay, what was the question, sir?
What is a big issue in the community?
A big issue. Well, yeah, besides trash pickup. Thank you, Mr. Barstow. One of the bigger issues is a lot of people come out here because they like the country living and the country feel of Pataskala. They love to see the farms and the open country and our parks and stuff. So what we all struggle with is trying to find a way to balance what we build and where we put the businesses and where we put the houses so that people can continue to come out here and enjoy our open spaces. I'd say that's pretty well one big major concern that we talk about at almost every meeting.
Okay. Another question. What local government deals with this problem? Is it just the council? Or-
Yes, since we're a city, we take care of all our own problems right here. Yep.
That's it.
Okay, very good. Hey, that was easy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I get the spelling for your name?
John.
Mm-hmm.
Baldridge.
EALB.
RIDGE.
Thank you.
Let's hear it for our future leader from Outville. All right, somebody try to top that now. Anybody else wish to speak tonight? No? No takers on that one. Good job, John. All right. Introduction, discussion, and approval of consent agenda matters.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Walter. Discussion?
Just to note on the consent agenda again is the Osborne Agricultural District application. There were no comments from the Ag Committee.
Very good, sir. Any other discussion? And roll, please.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Consent agenda passes. On the reports, well, there's a new event in town that is going to continue to grow. I hope that you'll be able to make it next year. Rotary decided to have a fundraiser called the Pizza Challenge, and it was a huge success. Over 500 people. I don't know the numbers yet on what they made, but for our first pizza challenge, we had like 9 pizza places come in, give samples. For $5, you got a couple slices of food, and I know Mr. Epperson was cleaning up on the pizza, and I got to be a judge, and it was just a great community time at the YMCA. A lot of people got to actually then go and see and visit the newly remodeled Y. So it was a huge event, and I'll keep you posted on next year's dates. Let's see. We're going to talk later in Parks about the district and our communication with them. And I did want to mention, Mr. Nicholson, I know you just lost your brother. I know you had a rough week last week, not only losing your brother, but also a family pet.
Yeah.
Your performance last week under that kind of pressure was huge. I just want to publicly thank you for all the things you had on your plate. You still handled them in an extremely professional manner. Thank you, sir. Mr. Barstow, what do you have?
Don't have anything, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Zatz?
I don't either. Thank you, Mayor.
Here we go. Mr. City Administrator Chris Sherrock, what do you got for me?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got an update on the AEP power pole. Right before the meeting, I passed out a Google Earth image of the Main Street, Mill Street area. The yellow line and the red line are the two options we have if we were to relocate the pole. A rough estimate would be the 75 to 95,000 that they estimated to put it underground would probably be equivalent, if not more, to do these relocation routes. A lot of that has to do with the easement that'll need purchased. The yellow line would come from Creek Road and follow the Muddy Fork Creek, and all of that easement would have to be purchased, and those trees would have to be cut so the power line could come through. Or the red line, another pole would have to be installed somewhere in the Wood Street, Mill Street intersection there, and an easement would have to come across to the Muddy Fork there at 310 to tie back into the system. Both of these routes, all three options, putting the power underline or relocating the pole, would require in the blue oval circle somewhere along Mill Street between Main and Jefferson, there would have to be a 4x4 concrete pad with a large transformer installed somewhere in that area to accommodate the equipment that is on the pole that we're talking about removing. So I wanted to present these options to council, and we can continue to go down this road if that's council's wishes. And I can get AEP to do a fully engineered plan on how to do this, but it does look like 75 to 95 is on the low end of the cost for either relocating or putting this pole underground. And that's pretty much the update I have for that pole.
Well, and I would appreciate if we would discuss that now so that Chris does have clear direction to either move forward or forget it. So, anybody have any input on that? Yes, sir.
Well, so the 75 to 95,000, that's the estimate just to do the pole. Does that include acquiring the easement? I mean,
Negative, it is not. That's the estimate to remove the pole and go underground. But the pole that we're talking about is the feeder for the whole Main Street
Right.
project and everything going southwest.
so if no easements are needed, it would be 75 to 90,000 dollars.
Correct.
Any idea what the easement cost is going to be?
I do not have any idea on that. I mean, I could do more research with AEP to find out if that's the route we want to go.
And who's going to be responsible for getting the easements? Is that going to be AEP or is that going to be the city?
I do not have an answer on that. I would imagine that would be a city request, and so that it would fall on the city's responsibility, but I'd have to verify.
Any other input? Now's the time.
I can add that AEP got the easements last time. When they were their easements, they did the acquisition. Of course, a lot of times you won't know the cost until somebody's willing to negotiate with you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. I mean, because last time it was when we were, it was AEP that went out. That was the delay, was that AEP kind of took their sweet time, in my view, to get the easements, which should have been done initially, but that's just what happened. So we're not sure if again, we need to check to see if this is gonna be something we're gonna have to do, and then what procedures we're gonna have to implement to acquire these easements, and then, or if it's gonna be AEP, if they're gonna do the heavy lifting on this, and then again, who's gonna pay for that, that portion of it. So, okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this. I mean, this doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense financially or, I guess, logistically, but I'm not an expert in this area in any way, shape, or form. But obviously, we have other places in the city that we need to spend money. That, you know, it's hard to justify, in my opinion, spending that kind of money on one pole. But I do think it was an oversight. It is what it is. But maybe sometime down the road, I mean, this just coming all the way over there and then down and then tearing all those trees out to get over the creek just doesn't seem to make sense. So maybe at some point we look at, doing something on Mill that could incorporate that if we ever, decide to go that way. I hate to see it stay, but it just, you know, it's one of those things, it's like, you gotta lay it out in your budgets.
Mr. Walter?
So Chris, just for clarification, the red line is an overhead line?
Yes, it would be removing the pole, relocating the pole and going overhead, yes, both red and yellow are the red
Okay,
lines.
so just so I can understand this, coming from south to north, so off of 310,
Mhm.
they would go aerial to Mill Street, set a pole, then go aerial across Main Street to a pole that would be on the eastern side,
Correct, at Jefferson and Mill.
and then go to a transformer. Is that correct? In that circle area, essentially.
Yes, that's what he explained to me, is that all the stuff that is on that pole would have to go to a transformer mounted on a concrete pad.
So essentially, the red line is really, we're still gonna have aerial lines. And so getting rid of the pole that seems kind of counterproductive. And the yellow line, just make sure I understood this one. The yellow line is an aerial line that is going to go along the creek. Basically, they're tying two circuits together at this point.
Correct.
And then they're gonna put in the blue area yet a transformer there. And
Yes,
that would do away with the transformer that's on the pole at Mill and 310.
That is correct.
So, not to complicate anything, because I think Tommy's absolutely right. The other utilities that are on that pole, where would they go?
I do not know.
Okay, fair, okay, thanks.
So feeding off what Tommy has said, if that's the general consensus that this is probably not the time for this project, I think Chris needs to hear that, so. Are we all
I
in
concur with
agreement?
Tommy.
Yeah.
I mean, and then Andy's, I didn't think about Andy's question about what other utilities are on that pole, and then, we spent, I don't know how much time getting Spectrum to, not knocking Spectrum, but on the Oak Meadow project, getting them to move the pole out of the way of the sidewalk, so. Sounds like a lot of money, a lot of work to not really, we're still gonna end up with poles down there on the.
I think that's the big picture, is that we're not getting much, not bang for the buck
No,
on that.
we're not.
We all envisioned what it was gonna look like, but that's just way too much. Do you have another comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, just thinking about it, I know there's a lot of messy looking lines on coming off Jefferson and off Mill, and, you know, maybe at some point, we have the money, we bury the lines from Mill down to Creek, and we don't have to do all this zigzagging, but again, I mean, we've got projects all over the city that are way more important than this.
All right,
So
enough said.
maybe someday.
Okay. Chris, what else you got for us tonight?
I have an update on the Sterling Theater. The proposal, I think we talked about this last time, proposal came in at 195. I've been in contact with the grant writing agency. They are actually submitted the paperwork about 20 minutes before the meeting to update them on the project and the contractor's bid as it stands now. But they have given me a verbal assurance that this is not going to be an issue and that we should assume that the grant is going to be awarded in full for this project. So my anticipation is to have a resolution to council at the next meeting about wanting the contract to get the theater AC put in. And I have a quick staffing update. The mayor's court clerk resigned this week, so that has been added to our list of job openings. Both that position and the treatment plants position are going to be advertised until March 20th. PBR meeting is scheduled for the 25th to review the applications, and then we'll go through the interview process for those. That is all I have for the administration report. If we go to utilities, there are two resolutions on the agenda tonight, or three resolutions, excuse me. Two of them are for the new utility department trucks that we discussed as part of the budget process last year. The third one is a resolution to go out to bid for the wastewater plant upgrade. About 15 minutes before the meeting, I received word that the EPA has finally approved our PTI for the wastewater plant upgrade. So now the next step is to go out to bid. When we have a bid that we can award, then we can finish the construction loan process and move forward. There is another address, 1044 Citation Drive is in Beechwood Trails. City has a water line that runs right next to this property. But it is in Harrison Township, it is in the district service area. They do not have a water line in the area, and it's very similar to the couple that we had last meeting. They have denied service rights for water to that property, and if there is no major objection, it is not a burden on the system at all to feed one more house out there. Then we will accept it, and they can move forward with capacity fees and tying on. We do have a water leak that developed in Beechwood Trails 1 tower. It's the smaller of the 2 towers up there. We identified that leak on Friday. It's a weld that is starting to fail. The leak is not catastrophic, but it is significant. Identified on Friday, got a hold of a contractor that we've used in the past to repair those leaks, those type of leaks. And they will be in tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock to get that leak fixed. The repair cost is $37.50. It is at the top of the stand-up pipe where the stand-up pipe meets the bowl. There's a lot of movement and stuff that happens up there, and that's where the weld broke. So they'll go up, they'll grind it down, re-weld it, and they'll put a protective paint layer over top of it. We do have to empty the tower in order for them to do that work. We did that today, but we still have, luckily we've got 2 towers up there, so it doesn't affect our operations too much. And after the repairs are done, we'll have to get 2 consecutive rounds of bacteria tests passed, and then we can put the tower back into service again. I anticipate the whole thing being done by the end of the week and back into service for the weekend. And then one last thing I wanted to mention was Trent House set up a free fire hydrant maintenance training that was held at the Water Plant 2 last week. We had attendees from Pataskla, Newark, Southwest Licking, and Worthington all come to this class. And that class did count towards the continuing education requirements for licensed operators. So kudos to Trent for setting that all up. Outside of that, I don't have anything else. Be happy to answer questions.
Well, thanks for the update on the theater. Thank you for putting that on the front burner and making sure we didn't lose that money, because I know we're getting a little close, and that's fabulous that that company came in, and that's been a huge blessing. That's gonna light that place on fire and pump some more energy into that theater. So thank you very much for that. You mentioned Mayor's Court. Just want to let everybody know that we have been meeting regularly with the chief, deputy chief, Jamie, Chris, Kip, Kelsey, to make sure that in the meantime, while we're posting and interviewing and getting a new Mayor's Court clerk, that Mayor's Court is running smoothly. So it's just going to be a rough, not rough, but couple months of while we go through the process of getting a new person. And just before I jump to Jamie, is there any questions for Mr. Sherrod on either utilities or administration? I will be looking for a motion tonight later on to appoint, well, I'm going to appoint Mr. Tom Lee to the fire board, and I guess, how do we do that with confirmation from council? Somebody's gonna make the motion, and how do we do that? Do you remember how we do that, Kathy?
We have gotten a confirmation from council.
Okay, so I'll be asking for a motion, and then somebody can make that motion, second it, and we can go into discussion and then vote on it later on tonight under motions, if that's okay. Anything else for Chris last time? All right, thank you, Chris.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Nicholson.
Thank you, Mayor. It has been a very busy couple of weeks with recruiting. As was mentioned, we have the Mayor's Court clerk, the utility superintendent, all the Parks and Rec positions that we're recruiting for. In addition, we're working with Kip and the mayor. There's never been a formal creation of a bailiff position. In the past, it was a police officer, and then most recently,
Mr. Wheeler.
Bob Wheeler, yeah. He was an officer, but then when he retired, he stayed on, and we really should have created a part-time position for that. So we're going through that process now. We're working to create a job description, get it to PBR. We'll be bringing it to council to formally create that position. And so, you know, we've got a lot of applications and postings and all kinds of stuff coming in. Collective bargaining, on the agenda tonight, you have 3 collective bargaining agreements to be considered, as well as the non-union pay matrix. that was a busy week trying to fine tune all 3 documents, making sure all changes were agreed to by all parties. We finally have clean versions, so I think we're good for tonight. I am pleased with the process. I will say that it was in years past, negotiating sessions past, they have gone much longer. There's been a lot less agreement. It's negotiations, and so sometimes it goes a lot longer. This one, the parties came to the table and it was a good process. I was pleased that we were able to come to agreements, and it's March, not September. And Janice and I appreciate that because that's a lot less retro pay calculations for us. We've created the first draft, assuming council approves them tonight, the first draft for us to review of the salary notices for all employees. So it'll indicate what their new pay rates will be once everything is approved. I put on the in my report a supplemental that's coming up because there are a lot of things on it and some really unusual things. The biggest one, we didn't catch that this year is a 27 pay year. It happens very rarely that there's 27 paid because you get paid every 2 weeks. 52 weeks makes sense. The problem is the Friday that we would pay is January 1st. So that's not a banking holiday, so we have to give the money on the 31st, the Thursday, resulting in 27 pays. And from a budgetary perspective, that's an extra pay that will need to be accounted for in the budget. So we're going to be asking for some additional appropriations. This only affects hourly employees, not any salaried employees, because salaried employees are paid a fixed sum for a year. And so what we'll end up doing is when all this retro pay stuff gets through and we're now at a clean basis, we'll figure out how many pay periods are remaining, how much has to be paid over that time period, and adjust the biweekly pay for salaried employees so it ends up being the correct amount. This is something that a lot of jurisdictions get caught on if they don't think to change the salaried employees' pay, because in essence you're getting paid about an extra 3.5% to 4%, and there will be fines for recovery issued getting that money back. So it's something we were aware of. We just didn't catch it when we were developing the budget. So that will be on there. We have an employee retirement that we're aware of, a very long-term employee, so that will have a fairly significant cash out in terms of sick and vacation time. So that will be something we'll be adding on there. The impact to the budget from the collective bargaining agreements that you'll see tonight. There's a number of things. The street program, Alan has some requests there. Liberty Park, the ODNR Nature Works grant was not approved when we did the budget. And as a matter of practice, we don't put grants in unless we've received notice that we're getting the money. So now that we've gotten the money and we're ready to move forward, we need to have appropriations for that. The other 2 things that aren't on this report that came up kind of towards the end of the cycle was the additional grant funding, the $200,000. That'll be a net zero. It'll be $200,000 of revenue, $200,000 of expenditures, because it's all grant funding. It's just flowing through us. And we will be transferring about $8,000 out of the Mayor's Court salary line down into contractual services because Kip's spending more time keeping the thing going as opposed to the former Mayor's Court clerk getting paid wages. So we're just that'll be a net zero. We'll be shifting 8,000 from one line to the other. That's all I have, but I wanted to give that to you up front because that's going to be kind of an overwhelming supplemental, and I didn't want it to be the first time you hear of it or see it. And so, anytime between now and then, if you have any questions, email, call, I'd be happy to sit down with you and go over it. And that's all I have.
Anything for Jamie? Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Haynes.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 resolutions on for tonight. The first 2 are the next steps for the Town Street Trunk Sewer Project. One is the award of contract to the contractor Spinco, and the other is for inspection for the project for Prime. And then the 3rd resolution is to bid the 2020 Streets Program. Just about ready to go out for that, so happy to answer any questions.
Yes, sir. Alan, when do they, for that project, when do they expect to have the structures? You said 2 weeks from when they get their structures, but when do you think that might be?
We just did a round of shop drawings, so I'm hoping by April 1st.
Gotcha, thanks.
Anything else for Alan? So we're on board?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, go
Is
ahead.
that structures April 1st or on-site April 1st?
I'm hoping the structures will be on site April 1st.
April, thank you. Okay, so
I'll
April
check on that and
15th.
see if I can get any updates.
Try to get that, okay, thank you.
So can you back me up from paving to when the bids go out? We're gonna be online for what, like the 1st of June to start paving or
For the
something?
streets program,
On the ramp program?
let's see, it'll probably be April, the second meeting in April is when we were probably trying to award the contract, up to 60 days, April, May, mid-June.
Good.
Probably July 1st is probably
Good.
fairly realistic.
All right, very good. All right, thanks, Alan. Scott, what do you got for me, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. We have the comprehensive plan workshop next Monday. If there's any specific concerns or questions that you have, if you want to shoot me an email by the end of the week this week, I'll make sure they get to the consultant so we can address those at the workshop. Also, ordinance 2019-4341, that's for Scenic View Estates, and ordinance 2019-4354, that's for Sage Point. I respectfully request that those remain on the table while we work through some of the outstanding issues. Aside from that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anything for Scott? Yes, sir.
On the comprehensive plan, Scott, the steering committee that was involved in that, I know you'd sent out an invite
I
for
did.
them to come. What role will they play in that special meeting?
I'm thinking if there's any questions that they may be able to address from a steering committee standpoint.
Okay, but they're not presenting anything.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Do they, does the steering committee know that they might be asked questions?
I told them if they're able to come, please attend, but I don't think that they know they would be available for
I
questions.
don't want to
but
be surprised that we might be.
I will
have a
follow
few
up with
questions
them
for
and
'em.
say anybody who's available to attend may be subject to questions from council.
We just want to hear their input. How about we do it that way? Thanks.
Anything else for Scott? All right, thank you. Mr. Crawford?
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight we have our ordinance 4357, fourth reading to amend municipal fees, adding section D that include the pool rates and also our facility use agreements. Jamie touched on a little bit regarding the supplemental that we will be bringing in 2 weeks. And to accompany that, I'll also bring a resolution to award the project to Builderscape. So we'll have a resolution on board to actually start that Liberty Park project. Things are ramping up in the parks. We got a project coming and more, so it's pretty busy at the moment. To accompany that, at our last Parks Board meeting, we had an Eagle Scout from one of our Reynoldsburg locations who is anticipating putting in some outdoor games. The projects would consist of a Gaga ball pit and Liberty Park project. After the initial construction at Liberty Park, it will also have a picnic table, which will also accompany Liberty Park project. And his last one would be an outdoors checker set, which we would like to place at Car Park as an outdoor, in our outdoor game section, pending, our approval and everything of that nature. Also at the meeting, we had Jude Hampshire as a representative from the Lions Club, representing one Lions Club, but technically two, bringing an idea to have a tree planting activity on April 25th, per recommendations from the Parks Board. We came up with the agreement that Volunteer Park would be the best location for that. We're still waiting on final paperwork from the representative, so once we have that information this month, we'll also be hoping to link up with Buildings and Grounds to set up a meeting to ensure that we're able to start that process early April. Some good news dealing with the Park District. Rich Kawa, the current Licking Park District Director, has reached out to the mayor, Chris, and I to discuss partnership opportunities to have with the county. So that's big for us, as we've been waiting for that for the last few years since I've been here. So on Monday, we meet with them to start discussions as to what we want to see from our county dollars, our property taxes. Hiring is ongoing. I have interviews for our seasonal maintenance employees this Thursday. We have 2 openings. I have 3 interviews. I'm hoping to accept 2 to kick the season going in April. And also this Wednesday, we also partnered with the County Health Department on the smoking policy. We will be discussing the signage. I know it's a lot, I'm sorry, but we'll be discussing signage, and we will have hopefully all of that signage back within the next 2 months. That way we can install in all of our parks per our most recent ordinance passing. So aside from that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and you two scouts out there, when you're ready for your Eagle projects, you go see Mr. Crawford and he'll fix you up, okay? Anything for Lanier? Yes, sir.
Lanier, I don't know if you, one other item that you talked about during the park board meeting last time was the technical or the summer program. I think it's an enormous opportunity. I don't know, are you prepared to, can you?
I can chime in a little bit.
Just a little bit.
So all winter long in the last 2 years, there have been a lot of discussions on inclusive programming. That programming would include e-gaming. I know e-gaming is one of those things where, hey, it's a program where your kids are just playing video game and not doing anything, but we're looking to put a little spin on that and actually having a pilot technology program in partnership with TechR2, a local tech company that we've been working with. They have offered a systems engineer to help get this rolling and that systems engineer will create and develop 20 computers that we would then use as a 5-week pilot program, partnering also to use facility space with the YMCA starting in July through the first 2 weeks of August. This program here could evolve to STEM education, also AutoCAD certification programming, and we've also been in discussions with Licking Heights as well on this, on how we can work to offer summer programming, after-school programming, just out-of-school programming in general. How can we all come together as a community to make it work? So in a nutshell, that is it. I know we're still working on the final details. I have a meeting with the YMCA this Friday, so more information on that will come, and then I'm sure we'll discuss it again at our Parks Board meeting tomorrow. But it's a big opportunity. You know, technology is rising now, coding, development, and COTC, I think they just built a nice tech school. So what better way is to introduce something that's out of the ordinary and grabbing teenagers and also middle school students who aren't actually in sports. So we took that initiative and we're hoping that we have success with it.
And TechR2, that's a fabulous partner to have.
Yep.
So that's great.
I think he's downplaying this. The opportunity here is enormous for Pataskla.
Good.
So congratulations. I look forward to working with you on that.
Very good. Anything else for Lanier? Congratulations on that. Yeah, that's huge. That and coupling with the park district is two major accomplishments that are going to be huge. So. Anything else for Lanier? Chief Brooks,
Actually, I have nothing tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
how soon can we fire up the speed trailer?
I talked to Sergeant Ramsey about that last week. He said he'd like to see at least a week of good weather just to make sure it doesn't drain the batteries. And we're compiling a list, and we'll get her out there as soon as we can.
Okay, and I think I mentioned to you Woodside and Dixon.
Yes.
Get them on the top of the list if you could, please.
They are on the top.
Very good. Thank you. Anything for Bruce? All right, very good. Any committee chair reports tonight?
I could give a quick update on the ad hoc committee. We met last week, compiled the top 8 candidates, set for interviews to begin on the 18th of March, and we're plugging away. So it's not much more to add than that. The meetings have a little more to them, but did I miss something, Andy?
I was just going to say, you know, I think that the process that was being used for the rubric that was provided, and also just the amount of candidates that we got in, qualified candidates that we got in, was pretty eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of good work there. We'll move as fast as we can.
We are to move as fast as we can, and we did say, you know, it kind of mirrors the in the recent years, you know, when we've had council openings, the number of qualified candidates we have and how difficult it is to narrow our choices down and decide between who to bring on. It's a stark difference from the last time we conducted a city administrator search, and the amount of qualified candidates. So I'm excited about it. I think we have a pretty good system set up to get those interviews done. We're trying to be timely, but also thorough, so it's very important that we cover all the bases, so that's about it.
A lot of work, it's gonna be worth it in the end. Anything else on committee chair reports? Okay, before we get into business, I just wanna mention again, I know I mentioned that, Mr. Nicholson was extremely busy. We had an employee resign, and Jess had surgery last week, and of course, we don't, Kathy, when's your surgery, or are you rescheduled?
Rescheduled for the 18th.
Okay, so, you know, as we bounce around with some of this stuff, I just wanna commend all of staff, because Janice started answering phones, and Lisa left the door open so everybody could channel in there. Everybody, all of staff pitched in. Mr. Kelsey came in and was trying to do what he could do to keep Mayor's Court going, because, you know, when one person that knows everything walks out the door, we're gonna make sure that never happens again. We're gonna have a backup plan in place, and start a Bible with a small B, so that.
Small B, please,
yes.
Mr. Mayor, we want that again.
Yep, Bible with a small b, so that that can be tracked, and when that new person is hired, they will continue to tweak that, so that when somebody steps out of the process, somebody will be able to step in, and Jessica's gonna help us, as she has been, to get us along. But last week we were running kinda thin, and everybody jumped in, and it still ran like clockwork, so thank you. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question, with the clerk leaving on such short notice, did we get a chance to do any type of potential exit interview or anything to find out why? I mean, I find it kind of very shocking or surprising that would happen. Any chance to get that information? I mean, I'd certainly like to know why she decided to leave.
It was
I think it'd be important for us to know that.
Sure, okay. I'll get you the,
We could share the correspondence we were given
Yep.
with you.
yeah, Jamie.
Well, I understand that, but, I mean, correspondence, you can't ask a question to a correspondence.
We weren't given the opportunity to ask a question.
So that's what I'm asking. Do we feel it's necessary to ask those questions? I think that would seem like a relatively reasonable request of us to say, hey, you know, what were maybe the two reasons why you left without any notice? I think both of those are good questions.
I'll defer to the law director, but at this point, I think we can talk offline. I really don't think it's appropriate to have a conversation.
Actually, I don't think that's a good conversation, and not because the public shouldn't be entitled to, but I think
No.
there's attorney-client privilege tucked inside some of the answers to your questions, so we'll talk later.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, old business. Ordinance 2019-4357 for a fourth reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Epperson. Kathy, when you're ready, fourth reading.
Ordinance 2019-4357, this is a fourth reading, an ordinance to amend the City of Pataskala Schedule of Maintenance Fees and thereby add Section D, Parks and Recreation.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Move we adopt ordinance 2019-4357.
Got a motion to adopt?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lee. Discussion? And roll.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2020-4358 for a third reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Carter. Kathy, when you're ready, third reading.
Ordinance 2020-4358, this is the third reading, an ordinance creating, establishing, and adopting Chapter 1223 Distressed Properties of the codified ordinances of the City of Pataskala.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I need to recuse on this.
All right. Mr. Epperson is stepping away from this. Discussion? Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move we adopt ordinance 2020-4358.
Got a motion to adopt?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lee. Discussion? And roll.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Epperson. Oh, recused. Barstow.
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2020-4359 for a second reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow.
Second.
Is that Mrs. Carter? Seconded by Mrs. Carter. Kathy, when you're ready, second reading.
Ordinance 2020-4359, this is the second reading, an ordinance to amend chapter 1287, off-site impacts of the codified ordinances of the city of Pataskla and repeal all other ordinances and parts of the ordinances in conflict therewith.
Discussion? Okay. On to resolutions. Take a drink of water here. Here we go. Resolution 2020-018, a resolution approving a contract with the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council, Inc., for the administration of police officers' wages, benefits, and other terms and conditions of employment for the period January 1, 2020 through December 31st, 2022.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lee. Discussion and roll.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2020-019, a resolution approving a contract with the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association for the administration of police sergeant and lieutenant wages, benefits, and other terms and conditions of employment for the period January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2022.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Epperson. Discussion and roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2020-020, a resolution approving a contract with United Steel, Paper and Forestry, Rubber, Manufacturing, Energy, Allied Industrial, and Service Workers International Union for the administration of public service, utility, and other clerical staff, wages, benefits, and other terms and conditions of employment for the period January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2022.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Carter. Discussion and roll.
Walter,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Resolution passes. Resolution 2020-021, a resolution to establish a 2022 pay matrix for the non-collectively bargained employees for the city of Pataskala, effective for the pay period beginning on and after January 1st, 2020.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Walther. Discussion and roll.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2020-023, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into contract with Spenco Excavating, Inc. for the construction services for the Town Street Trunk Sewer Project.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Walther. Discussion and roll.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2020-024, resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to execute contract with Prime Construction Management and Survey, Inc. to provide construction administration and inspection services for the Town Street Trunk Sewer Project.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Walther. Discussion and roll.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2020-025, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator or his designee to advertise, receive, and review bids for the construction of the 2020 Roadway Improvements Program.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Walther. Discussion? And roll.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire.
Yes.
Have we moved away from calling that ramp or?
Trying to move away from drawing
Okay.
ramp, yes.
Okay, very good, that's fine. Resolution 2020-026, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to execute contract to purchase a 2020 GMC Sierra 2500 four-wheel drive regular cab utility bed utility truck from Bob Ross Auto Group through the State of Ohio Cooperative Purchasing Procurement Program.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Epperson. Discussion? And roll.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2020-027, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to advertise, receive, and review bids for the construction of the Water Reclamation Facility, WRF, upgrade project.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Epperson. Discussion? And roll, please.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
No.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2020-028, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to execute a contract to purchase a 2020 GMC Sierra 1500 four-wheel drive crew cab short bed utility truck from Bob Ross Auto Group through the State of Ohio Cooperative Purchasing Procurement Program.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Carter. Discussion? And roll.
Walther,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Okay, the resolution passes. How about that? That was like 6 minutes, man. Okay, on the motions. Anybody want to make a motion? Yes, sir.
I've got a motion to confirm the Licking Heights School District appointee of Jean Bax to the Tassau Park and Rec Board.
Got a motion?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll.
Epperson,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. If you'd make sure you send me a reminder, I will come in and swear her in
Okay.
and get all your goodies from Kathy.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Tomorrow
I know
7 p.m.
Jean's been wanting to serve.
Tomorrow,
What's that?
7 p.m.
7.
Tomorrow at 7.
Uh-huh.
Thanks for reminding me. Any other motions?
Do you want to make a motion to appoint Mr. Lee to the fire board for West Licking?
Okay, we got a motion, need a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll, please.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Epperson,
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Lee. I know you have plenty on your plate, but that's a very important position. Can you fill Mr. Hickens' shoes, Mr. Lee?
Very doubtful.
Very doubtful. Well,
I'll try.
Oh, boy. I'm just teasing you. You'll do fine. That's why we need you there. Park board meeting is 6:30 or 7?
7.
7 p.m.
Yep.
here.
Here.
Okay. Be here. Any other motions tonight? Okay, additional citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak in the audience about a topic that we have discussed during this meeting? Yes, sir. Name and address.
Yes, Trent Thorson, 3614 Headleysville Road.
Is this your first time here, sir?
Yes, yes it is, as you all know. I just wanted to thank you all for this, for working so diligently on this Vine Street trunk sewer project. I know it's been trying several months for a lot of you, Alan's guys, and it's not been easy, but I really appreciate the quick response here. I know it's tough for a city to do that, and I really appreciate it, so thank you all.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak tonight? Okay, we'll go round and round the room, and we'll start with Mr. Epperson. What do you got? Anything exciting? Didn't want to vote on your favorite pizza? Just kidding. Mrs. Carter?
I appreciate you guys' patience. I'm sorry, I've been gone so much. I'm climbing back slowly, so, I did wanna say real quick too, first off, thank you guys very much for leading us in the pledge, and I have to say, that I was really, tickled by the smiles every time you came up here. You guys were full of smiles, and it was nice to see. You don't get to see smiles in the audience very often, so it was nice. Chief, I think that, this was probably brought up at one of those meetings that I missed in my haze, but, with the Woodside Drive situation and the number of complaints of speeding, and traffic because of, I don't necessarily think it's due to the construction because the roadways have been relatively clear. I think it's because we field a great deal of, I field a great deal of those complaints at the high school as well. So just so, Mayor, and if you guys get those complaints or you talk to somebody, you pass it along. We have, made a really diligent effort to, talk about it in our announcements and our class meetings. Threatened to take away, driving privileges to the high school. Believe it or not, we only have about just over 300 parking spaces at the high school period. Only about just over 100 kids drive out of 1,300. So 100 kids though coming down that way is quite a bit. And I have personally followed one and pulled over and mommed them out of rage. So if you guys could pass that along, we have made those efforts. And so if we could get that speed trailer out there, it would really help. I don't know what the answer is, but, and it's not just kids. Unfortunately, it's not just the students, so. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barstow?
So, this is a couple of different council members and others have brought this up to me, that this is something I just have to figure out how to do this. There's two issues, and this kind of feeds back into the, appointment of Mr. Lee to the fire board, replacing Mr. Hickens. So, I am thinking about, I think we need to have someone fill in as vice president. And so if someone is interested in doing that, just let me know by shooting me an email. I think that's something that needs to come up from council. It's a council appointment. And so that would be, the other one is replacing, getting a utility chair, because again, Mr. Hickens was the utility chair. He had that for a long time. So I think that's something that council president can do. That's under council rules. Council president makes those appointments. So if somebody's interested in doing that, you don't necessarily have to be a utility committee member. But if you're interested in doing that, just shoot me an email, let me know, and we'll start getting that stuff lined up. I'd like to maybe have that done on the March 16th meeting. Thank you.
Very good. You're most welcome. Two important points. Mr. Zetz, do you have anything, sir?
I do not.
Mr. Walter?
I've got two things. One, Scott, I want to thank you for your time looking into the comprehensive plan, obviously getting ready for next week's meeting. A lot of stuff there to digest, obviously. Thank you. And second, I want to tell Alan in advance, thank you so much for all your focus on the potholes, because it's pothole season. So they're coming. Freezing, thawing, we'll see them start to pop. So hopefully your guys are ready to fix those. You will have them. Thanks in advance.
We probably make a little money by selling extra bags of salt. Haven't used a lot of salt, have we? Jude, what you got?
I just wanted to say that I did go before the Parks Board last week, and it was pretty amazing. I've never been before the Parks Board before, and I thought myself not quite ready, but everything smoothed out, and thanks to everybody who helped on that. That was a great group to go before. Also wanted to talk to you scouts out there. I'm very happy to see you. I am in fact a merit badge counselor for a community, and also have 2 sons that are Eagle Scouts and a third one that better be by July 1st. So it's nice to see you here. I hope you have your eyes set on Eagle, and if you ever need any help with anything, do not hesitate to call on me. I will help you even up to the night before your 18th birthday.
So you're an Eagle Scout coordinator among the other 10,000 things that you do.
I'm a merit badge
Merit
counselor.
badge, okay, very good. All right.
For about 25 things, but that's one of them. So.
We love our scouts.
Mhm.
They've helped us out tremendously. Is that all you got?
All
Okay, very good. Mr. Lee, take us home.
Yeah, a couple things. My apologies again to the Ag Committee for whatever reason with the leap year and the President's Day. The last 3 meetings have been on my duty day at work, so I've had to find time off just to make it to the council. So I have not had any Ag Committee meetings this year, and I apologize for that. But
The only one that forgot you was me. I'm sorry.
the only Friday was you. I wanted to give a big shout out to the staff, Jamie, everybody, Chris. You guys have just, I know you're in a kind of a lull here, in a holding pattern, but you guys haven't stopped working. You're working harder than you ever have, and just keep it up. I enjoy stopping in, seeing you guys, and shooting the breeze and checking in. So really, really appreciate that. Last thing I just want to say that I don't know who all would know him, but please keep the DeHart family in your prayers. Zach DeHart passed away yesterday. He was one of our old timers. Gave me my first haircut, one of my grandfather's best friend, and he was a great mentor to me growing up, and a great friend. Kind of served that grandfather role for me when my grandpa passed away, but he meant a lot to me, and he was probably one of the best people, one of the best men I've ever met. Just a solid guy, and a lot of people won't know him because I think he was 85 or 86. We lost another good one, so I'll leave it at that. But keep his family in prayers. That's all I got. Motion to adjourn.
Second. Got a motion and a second by Mr. Barstow. Discussion and roll.
Hampshire,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter, Walter,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Barstow.
Yes. Meeting adjourned. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, the executive sessions are what usually.
That makes sense.
Pretty
It was like a big mic drop, like, I don't know.
Hey there, good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, go pick it up. Thanks for the I love that. Super guy.
Keep on them projects. Gives me motivation. I know you're working on something. I can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee
Just what you need.
That was one of them.
Oh.